we have a different philosophy
He has a different
because
philosophy.
our only philosophy is Guru Shastra Sadhu. We don't have to say we're different philosophy from Bir Krishna because we have to assume that Bir Krishna is a devotee of Krishna. Bir Krishna is a devotee of the disciple of Prabhupada. Therefore, there's no room for a different philosophy.
But that's what he said. I have a different philosophy.
You said or he said?
He said, I have a different philosophy because he said, I'm acting as a bona fide guru. So I'm like, then he looked at me and he laughed. I said, maybe. And then he said, oh, he has a different philosophy, a little different philosophy.
Who does?
Bir Krishna said to me,
That he has a different philosophy.
yes, I have a different philosophy.
Well, then what you can say is, since I accept Prabhupada's philosophy, and you say you have a different one, so how is it different than Prabhupada's philosophy?
Actually, he was giving the initiation and he was giving the talk, so I didn't want to, burst the bubble. I was just kind of,
Well, I don't know. This is not a new conversation like this.
Yeah, I'll send you the video later, so you can see
Yeah,
what I'm
sure.
talking about. But
Was that
anyway.
the one that I responded to?
No, not that one.
So is he going to be there at Rasa Yatra?
No, Vaisheshika will be there to write the answer, so you can meet him. I hope
I
so.
know him quite well. I knew him quite well from the 70s.
Right. Yeah, he hated the initiated gurus, but he became one at the end.
Wow,
yeah.
he joined them.
It's
Yeah.
a survival technique, no?
Yeah,
It's a
He really-
retirement plan, Narayan.
retirement fund. Right. He hated Hansaduda so much, of being a guru.
If you want to be in the ISKCON the way it is right now, then the best thing you can do if you're a sincere devotee is to become an ISKCON guru, because that way you can help people more than you could help them if you weren't a guru. But that is so lame. It's so lame.
So you're
I
saying
think
that
it's better that
becoming
we cut. Let's chop down the tree near the root by saying ISKCON does not have a GBC. See, if we say
Yeah.
ISKCON doesn't have a GBC, we don't have to talk about gurus. Let's talk about GBC, because they cannot establish that ISKCON has a GBC. They cannot prove that ISKCON has a GBC. If we say ISKCON does not have a GBC, let's leave it at that. Don't worry about gurus. You know why? You discredit the GBC and there are no more gurus. You don't have to attack this guru and that guru, You see what I mean? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why do we need to concern ourselves with who wants to be a guru when, if we deal with the GBC for what it is,
So that's a good question. Yeah. We don't have
they don't
to,
have a GBC. They do not have a GBC. Oh yeah, we have a GBC incorporated in Mayapur. I say, okay, show me the founding paper of your GBC. How did you guys create your GBC? You created it yourselves? Where did the word GBC come from? What's the history of GBC? Where governing body commission, is that what Bhaktisiddhanta was talking about? The governing body commission of the British Indian Railway? Is that where you get GBC, or you get it from Bhaktisiddhanta? Or did Prabhupada ever authorize anyone to become a GBC? Do you have a GBC? Where's your founding documents?
Right, right.
Do you see how simple it is?
Very simple. Now, the complex one.
Yeah, yeah. We don't want to go chasing the car down the street, barking at the tires when we want to get when we want to deal with the heart of the matter. All we have to do is deal with the GBC, because if we can get them to admit that they don't have a GBC, then we could say, if we want to, if they want to agree that they don't have a GBC, I would leave it at that. But if we want to go further, we could say, if you don't have a GBC, then how do the ISKCON gurus, how are the ISKCON gurus designated or appointed? Where do
Bless
they
you.
come from?
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Rupa Manjari Das.
It sounds like Ramachandra, it sounds like Mahaprabhu.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mahaprabhu in the house.
Sneezing in the background.
Well, that's
Hari,
good.
Haribol,
So-
Haribol.
So my next question is, for the direction of management to be implemented, it has to be part of the legalization document of the corporation. You know what I'm saying? It has to be registered. Have you?
It has to be part of it. It is the corporation. What
What
would
do
it
you mean
be
it is?
part of? It
No,
isn't just a document. It is a authorized function of ISKCON created by Prabhupada.
No, but is it filed with the state of California? That's my question. If you talk about
Well-
legal terms, is it filed with the state of California where you can pull it up? Okay, yes, this is how we're going to function.
I don't know. Rupa Manjari, do you happen to remember
Remember what?
if the direction of management was ever filed with the state of California?
At the
I
Because-
don't think so.
Yeah, that's what Puranjana told me the other day. He said, "Oh, the director of management, even though it's a nice document, it needs to be filed with the government, with the state of California, to say
Okay.
that this is how it's going to run." So
Who's got the wild children in the background? Is that you, Ramachandra?
they're
Not
working in the
me.
backyard.
Oh. Okay. A little hard to hear. But the thing is that, but it doesn't matter. I mean, do you accept the spiritual master's word, written word, as his written word? Or do you just say, unless it's with the state of California, of the United States of America, which is not a spiritual organization, that it doesn't exist? At what point does something exist? If the spiritual master utters it, does it exist, or does it have to be registered with the state of California? You see what I'm saying?
How would
Yeah.
we find it out?
What?
How
They
would we
wanted to
find-
be, it doesn't matter. If Prabhupada said it and they signed it, that is their vow, their bond as disciples. They don't, unless Prabhupada destroyed the direction of management, then that's the only document they have. And in the Long Island court case, Vajra and Orion came on board. Management is the founding document of the GBC, and that was submitted into a court of law.
Well, do you have a transcript of the whole thing? And we need to find the transcript of what actually transpired. Do you have it?
Yeah, I have something there. I have a letter that I wrote to Vajra and Orion.
No, I'm
Congratulating
talking
on-
about the transcript of the court dissertation.
No, but it can be easily gotten, I'm sure. Why not see if Yosoda has it?
Okay, I'll ask him. But they specifically interviewed you regarding this issue, right? And you made a statement regarding
What?
the whole thing, right?
The whole thing.
You mean the lawyers interviewed you, right?
Yeah, not about the
That's what-
direction of management, I don't think was it?
Okay, I thought you were talking about the direction of management, and you were talking about it to the lawyers at one time somewhere in time.
Okay, well, I have a transcript and I have 7 hours of tapes.
Yeah, do you have that? Do you have it? Do you have a physical copy?
I think it's probably in storage in Torrance.
Yeah, we need to get that, just to see what was discussed.
But it
so we
doesn't
can.
matter. It doesn't matter. Why does it matter? They never used that. They never used my deposition in the court. Hello?
I'm hearing a lot of background noise. That's why I'm muted.
Okay. They didn't use my deposition in the court case. Roger Narayan went to Long Island and testified in person, stating that the GDC was founded by the direction of management. That he did do. With Judge McMahon. I don't know if Nimai Pandit is still involved with anything, but he would have a copy of that. So you can get it from him. So, Ramachandra, what is the difficulty?
No, difficulty is that if you're trying to do something legally or to present something, Prabhupada signed it, but it was never filed. So
What do
in
you
one
want to do?
sense-
Go to the material court? Go to the
No.
government court?
eventually this needs to be done.
Why?
Why not? I'm just asking why. Well, why not? If it's a legal document, then it should be registered with the state. No? If Prabhupada wanted it, he signed it. So
Why does it matter? We're dealing here with the spiritual master and the disciple. Where's the legality of that?
legality
If
is
the
you follow
spiritual
the,
master creates a document and his disciples sign it, why does it have to be a legal document when it is a contract between two people, between the spiritual master and the disciple?
well, you have a point. Well, you have a point there, Narayan Prabhu. I certainly agree that they should follow. But then, if you're
No.
dealing with an
It
organization,
is an agreement. If you're going to sell me a piece of furniture, and we have a contract, and you write out a document, and I sign it, and you sign it, why does it have to be registered with the state of California? It's a contract between two individuals.
yeah,
Well, it would legitimize the document in the eyes of the public, which for the most part are not members of
We
this.
are not trying to make a legal justification for the existence of ISKCON even. ISKCON exists. It was incorporated in New York. If Prabhupada wants to modify ISKCON by creating a contract with his disciples, he's free to do so. And as disciples, we have to consider that whatever he asks us to do, or we agree to do for him, is as good as if we were making an agreement with Krishna. We're not dealing in the court of law. That's what they do. They go into the court of law. Why do we want to go in the court of law? We don't need to. What we are doing is we are going to the root of their belief system or their honor system or the very definition of disciple and guru. We have all the quotes that Prabhupada has given us over the years of how the disciple and guru relate. And that it's not negotiable. Whatever the guru says, the disciple must follow. That's not going to go into a court of law. Why should it? In other words, if we can establish that Prabhupada made the statement of the direction of management, then we can argue to the ISKCON membership and leadership that unless you have elected the GBC, you do not have a GBC. How can they say otherwise without defying and rejecting Prabhupada? You know what I'm saying? Can they do that?
Ramachandra stepped out for a few minutes.
Didn't say so.
He wrote it. He said he would be back in a few minutes.
I didn't hear him say that.
He
makes
wrote
you-
it. He wrote
that
it.
makes you the facilitator.
Yeah.
When Jerry
Well,
does.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So if I'm going to facilitate, then the first thing I want to say is that no one can become a disciple of a pure devotee of the Lord and not consider that his words are equal above those of the law and equal to those of Krishna.
Yeah.
Supposing Jesus was challenged, who says that this is what you're saying is true? Have you got it in law? Is it registered with the court? I don't think anyone has ever expected Jesus to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Copy that.
I hear something rattling.
I do too.
I do too. And it's not me.
Not me.
Sounds like a TV or something on
I
radio
think
or
it's on
TV.
Ramachandra's side. I think he has his kids there and they're playing in the backyard.
No, he's at the bank right now.
What?
He's at the bank.
He's not home?
No, he's at the bank.
Working?
Yeah, he's working.
I didn't know it.
Yeah.
Then what was he saying about people are doing something in the garden? That was what the noise was.
Yeah, they're renovating his bank in Grass Valley.
Oh, he's in Grass Valley.
Yeah, he's in Grass Valley at the bank.
Where's that?
It's up north.
Yeah. I'm not sure where it's north, but it's north of Compton. North of Sacramento, I think.
Yeah.
And it's full of hippies.
Yeah.
That's why it's called Grass Valley.
So where does the jiva come into play with all this?
The jiva. Well, the jiva can do what the jiva can actually do, whatever the jiva feels like doing.
Whether we
the
like it or
jiva-
not.
No, because we like it or not. The jiva is part and parcel of Krishna, but he is capable of doing non-divine deeds, as you may have noticed. So the jiva,
can do non-divine things.
yes, because when the jiva decides to identify with a body, specifically the body that he's born into in the material world, he then does what that body is supposed to do.
Good or bad?
Exactly. Both. Being in the body is bad because we're not the body. If anyone who identifies with his body is living a lie, because we're not the body. The only truth is that consciousness is the indicator of the soul. Therefore, if consciousness is the indicator of the soul, then we are the soul because we're conscious. And when we lend our consciousness or delude ourselves through the mind of thinking that our consciousness belongs to the body, and scientists even go to that extreme, don't they? They think of the brain as the source of consciousness. All I can say is, boy, are they wrong. Consciousness is the jiva. Or put it this way, the jiva is conscious. The body is not conscious. If a person goes into a coma, if a person dies, the body is not conscious. But the soul is conscious. I mean, I don't know what these Abrahamic religions come up with, but the soul, the eternal soul that the Abrahamic religions claim that we all have, what happens to that soul at the time of death? Is it conscious as a soul, or did consciousness die with the human body? Or for that matter, any body. But the Abrahamic people don't tend to think that plants and animals and insects are souls or are conscious. They know they're conscious, but they try to think of it as some sort of this, just like people believed African slaves were 2/3 or 3/4 of a human being, and therefore not entitled to vote. So we consider animals, anyone who kills animals and eats them, considers animals to be conscious, but not up to the level of humanity. But we, as devotees, consider if the animal is conscious, that means he is the jiva. And the jiva, I could become an animal in my next life, or an animal could become a human in its next life. There's a lot of puzzle out, configurations that determine what sort of body you get and what sort of body do you lose. Because if you have a human body, you don't use it well, you'll lose it. You'll become something that doesn't need a human body.
You snooze, you lose.
Yeah.
In the human form of life.
Yeah.
What's the difference? So a lot of people are snoozing and losing.
Is Ramachandra back?
Yes, I'm back. I want to show you something. Look where I am.
Okay. So what's going on? I'm finding out by the grapevine, but not directly, that you are in Grass Valley and that you're working.
Look where I am.
And then you're outside of a Bank of America that's being remodeled.
Inside. I'm inside right now.
Narayan, look at your screen.
Okay, I'll have a quick look.
Sacramento.
I don't see, I see Prabhupada.
You gotta swipe your screen.
Ramachandra, show him. Okay,
I'm
look,
looking.
Narayan. Look, Narayan.
Well,
Swipe
I
your
see,
screen.
I see glimpses, but I don't see a solid picture. Okay. Okay, I see the inside of a bank.
Yeah, this is where I am. I'm sitting, relaxing, having my
There
Zoom
he is.
meeting.
All right.
can
Hare
tell.
Krishna.
I saw your I saw your leg
Hare
crossed
Krishna.
over your left leg crossed over your right leg.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Just sitting at the door here and watching the doors. That door and that door.
Where's the gold that you were talking about?
No, I can't show too much because it'll
Oh,
be looking. It'll be too funny. It's like,
Don't do it. Don't do anything that would be compromising.
yeah, right. Right. So that's what I'm doing here. So, anyways, let's continue our Zoom meeting. So we have some new devotees joining us. Not new, but Satya Prabhu, Taraka. So if they want to speak, please, Prabhu, feel free to join in, make a statement, share your realizations, ask questions, whatever you like.
Is everything okay, Ramachandra? You sound a little bit possibly tense.
Oh, no, I'm fine. It's just the fumes I think is killing me.
Fumes?
Yeah, the paint fumes and the carpet fumes.
They're renovating.
Yeah, they're renovating.
And the glow given off by the heaps of gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
What time are you off, Ramachandra Singh Das?
Oh, I'm sitting here for 12 hours. So,
Wow.
Really? Well,
That's-
after 8 hours, you must be making time and a half, right?
basically. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Good. I wish I were there making time and a half.
All right. Bruce, Guy. Satya Prabhu and Tarak
Okay.
Prabhu, please
So
introduce
can-
yourselves.
Yeah, well, can we get everybody on board? What we're talking about is actually who is the bona fide spiritual master? And I don't mean after Prabhupada, I mean up to Prabhupada. After that, we can debate who can be, well, we don't debate. It says clearly Rupa Manjari, we have a namesake of here on the Zoom call, Rupa Manjari appeared as Rupa Goswami and made a clear declaration in the Upadeshamrita, which is the nectar of instruction, that the guru must be, the bona fide spiritual master must be a resident of Krishna Loka, namely a Uttama Adhikari, which means in his rasa with Krishna already, not approaching, not acquiring this lifetime, but already established in his rasa with Krishna. If he's not already in his rasa with Krishna, then he cannot become a spiritual master, because Rupa Goswami goes on to say, the Madhyam, that's the Uttama Adhikari, the Kanista, meaning the ISKCON membership level Adhikari, and the one who's going through the mystical process of acquiring his spiritual form in which to relate with Krishna are not adequate. Their guidance is insufficient guidance. So I have not yet met anyone that I consider to be a fully blown Madhyamadikari. I've seen a number of people in ISKCON, mostly children, who I think have the nature, potential, and previous life's training and practice to be interested in being an Madhyamadikari. But that is, none of them are in an atmosphere where they are either encouraged or even allowed to become full-blown Madhyamadikaris. Therefore, I would say in ISKCON, all the gurus that are there are simply, if you're going to go on a scale of 1 to 10 on Kanista Adhikaris, when a person comes forth under the street, and he joins, and he reluctantly agrees to follow the regulated principles, and he struggles to chant 16 rounds, and he tries not to fall asleep during Bhagavatam class, Bhagavad Gita class, or Bhagavatam class, and he does enthusiastically take prasadam, and he looks at the deity, trying to believe that this is God, and humbles himself to the point where he gets little insights that the deity is actually God. That is the beginning of the Kanista Adhikari. But we have to understand that the Kanista Adhikari is not like the Shudra or anything like that in the Vedic culture. The Kanista Adhikari is technically above the Brahmin of the Vedic culture. Why? The Brahmins of the Vedic culture were busy helping the castes, the different castes, move upward, including into higher planets. Because everyone on Earth is like spending money. It's like if you get paid, you have a check. Well, by the time the end of your next big check comes, you probably don't have a big fat bank account yet left because you spend it. So people are spending their karma, but they don't have any way to earn more karma. And if you become a devotee of Krishna, you give up the attempt to earn more karma, and you're protected by Krishna, and you're given something called Krishna karma, which is sort of like walking around money while you're a brahmachari. But it's not the same thing as a Brahminical sacrifice, Agnihotra, that is designed to lift you to the heavenly planets after the birth in this earth. And it's not possible. Lord Chaitanya came here because the Vedic culture collapsed. It technically collapsed at the beginning of Kali Yuga, but it continued for a couple of thousand more years because it was the greatest nation on earth was India, and they had nothing. There was nothing they could have done better, so they did what they knew how to do. But as time went by, the effect of Kali Yuga became greater, and when the effect of Kali Yuga began to erode, the first thing to be eroded is the Brahmins. They lose their Shakti, their potency. The other thing to be eroded is the Kshatriyas, whether they're kings or soldiers or noblemen. Once those two classes are eroded, then you end up with an invasion of the Mughals. Because let's be realistic. How could the Mughals have invaded Bharat? How could the Mughals have invaded a functioning Vedic system? They are only able to invade because the Vedic system had broken down. Does it make sense?
Like the Roman Empire.
Exactly. Well, the Roman Empire went up and down and up and down. The Vedic culture was high, and then it became eroded, then it became destroyed, because even though there were kings and Brahmins and devotees and brahmacharis and people wanting to take diksha, at the time of the Mughals, what a sensible person, perhaps like Narada Muni type of sensible person, could have said was, sorry guys, you're a day late and $1 short, or you're a day late and a rupee short. You're too late.
Internal weakness and external invasion.
Weakness as well. It became the external weakness is the kings, the internal weakness is the Brahmins. They both lost their Shakti, their mojo. They lost their power, their mystical power to work together. So now if you go to India, you'll find Shiva temples, Ganesh temples, Durga temples, Kali temples, and they're all at each other's throats because they no longer are part of the Varnashram system. They're all off doing business on their own. And you'll
Boy.
also find Vaishnava temples, but the Vaishnava temples, again, are beating a dead horse because they don't have anything to do. You have people wanting to give initiation and people wanting to take initiation, but what is the value of it? How will they, what will they do with that initiation? In Kali Yuga, all they can do is say, okay, I've taken my Diksha, from a Brahmin, I know my Gotra, meaning which one of the original 5 ancestors of all living beings I'm descended from at the beginning of the universe. That's quite a ways back. And I know all of that stuff. Therefore, my wife, my children, my money, my house, my life is going to be protected as much as possible. And we have so many examples in India where people from very pious families were destroyed by barbarians, by the Mughals, by the British. So even their best intention of taking initiation from a bona fide spiritual master didn't do them any good. And now ISKCON is trying to duplicate their mistake by creating spiritual masters that can also not really protect anyone any more than a competent temple president could. This may shock people listening to this program, but it's an actual fact. There's no one with the potency to actually deliver intact the sound vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra as chanted by Lord Chaitanya himself.
Okay, Satya Prabhu has a question. She has a
Yes.
answer right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hare Krishna,
Satya,
bro,
Satya
please answer.
Prabhu, so glad to have you back here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, bro. Please accept my humble obeisances, bro.
We're
Yeah.
your family. We may be malechas, but that's bad news for you, I'm sure. But we're nonetheless initiated malechas, followers of Prabhupada. Therefore, we can offer you Prabhupada, but not good karma, because you're probably from a much higher dharma, karmic structure than we are. So anyhow, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, bro. Thank you. Actually, my question is, could you kindly elaborate on women in GBC, bro?
What?
Women in GBC, bro. Because at that time, some exalted devotees are there, no, bro. Govinda Dasi Mataji or Yamuna Mataji. Why they are not included in GBC like that?
Ramachandra, can you sort of help me? It was a little too scratchy for me to hear.
Okay, Satya Prabhu is asking, why aren't the women in the GBC like Govinda Dasi and he said Yamuna? He said
Yamuna
Yamuna?
Mataji.
Yes, yes. Why aren't they? Yamuna Mataji has passed away. Govinda Dasi is still there. She's not in the GBC because she's against the edited books, first of all. And she knows it's a lot of politics being a GBC.
Yeah,
So
GBC, the thing, Satya Prabhu, to remember is GBC is not an appointed position. It's an elected position. And it is meant to be elected from the temple presidents. So if you have like 50 temple presidents, each one president of a temple, and you want to elect GBC, you want 12 of them out of that 50. So you make a list of candidates and all the temple presidents vote, and they vote, and which 12 get the highest number of votes, they become GBC for 3 years. So it doesn't matter. If a woman is a temple president, she can become a GBC if people want her to be. It's not a question of appointing GBCs. It's a question of electing GBCs.
Yes, bro.
But frankly, if you've heard of ISKCON having a GBC, I would like to tell you point blank, they don't. There is no ISKCON GBC because not one of them has ever been elected to be GBC, which Prabhupada and they, in 1970, agreed would be the standard. Prabhupada and 12 men signed a document stating that the GBC would be elected every 3 years. They have never had one election. They did so many outrageously offenses against the pure devotee between 1970 and 1978. They did so many offenses against the pure devotee that it was not even possible to hold an election. Every year there was supposed to be an election. They did something so outrageous, like appointing their own GBC men without Prabhupada's permission, having GBC meetings without inviting Prabhupada, even though that's clearly, while he's on the planet, it is clearly a requirement. So they don't have a GBC. If you think they have a GBC, then you're buying their lie. If you want to buy a lie, be happy with the lie that you buy, but it's not the truth. The truth is GBC has never existed because GBC has never been elected. And the direction of management clearly states, as a legal document with a seal on it, that the GBC has to be elected every 3 years. Can be re-elected for another 3 years, but it must be elected, and it must be only temple presidents who become GBC. We are trying to challenge ISKCON. They said, you have got everything. You have got pujaris, you have deities, you have what's left of Prabhupada's books. You have sometimes Prabhupada's kirtans. You give classes. You have very nice prasadam usually, and you have beautiful deity worship, which is wonderful and very pleasing to Krishna and to Prabhupada. But you do not have GBC. And that is our standard. So what do you think, Satya Prabhu? Can you accept that the ISKCON has no GBC?
Yeah, when they follow, we can say that they have GBC, but they are not following exactly. No, then
No.
we cannot say.
So if they have GBC, where did those GBC come from?
It must be elected by the temple presidents. No, yeah.
No, they control themselves. They're not
Okay.
controlled. The Prabhupada's GBC is controlled by the temple presidents. And just
Yes,
like a
Prabhu.
GBC temple president can be elected, he could be recalled from GBC also by the temple presidents if it turns out he doesn't do a good job. So you can see what they say is their GBC is actually a conspiracy against Prabhupada in the form of a dictatorship, not a democracy, which is what Prabhupada created.
Yes.
Actually, Prabhupada didn't create a democracy, he created a republic, meaning that the democracy would mean that the temple congregation votes for the GBC, but they may or may not vote for the temple president, depending on if it's his house or not, or he owns it or not. But they appoint, the congregation supports the temple president in electing the GBC. So it's more of a republic, not a democracy.
Yes.
Like the United States.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
So can you accept that as being the truth?
Yes, Prabhu, surely. Definitely I will accept.
You do accept it?
Yes, Prabhu.
Then join us. Well, you already have, but join us formally because that is our platform. And we're going to try to get several thousand people to agree that ISKCON does not have a GBC because they have never had an election for GBC. We're not worried about who is a guru because the gurus are all appointed by the unelected GBC. So we will deal with the GBC. When the GBC is shown to be a fraud, then the gurus automatically have no support because they have no way of coming into guruship without the GBC. And if the
Yes,
GBC
Prabhu.
were elected, the elected GBC would never be in a position to elect gurus.
Yes, Prabhu.
Guru, by the standard of Vaishnavism, has to be self-manifest. He must be an Uttamadhikari. He must be in the line of disciplic succession. He must be an acharya. You can't just have people saying that they're gurus, just like Boy Scout leaders say they're Boy Scout leaders. But that doesn't mean that they're in charge of the entire Boy Scouts. It means that they're just in charge of this chapter. So like temple president, if the ISKCON gurus switch their title to be temple president or senior devotee, not Shiksha Guru, but just simply senior ISKCON devotee. Maybe if you've been 10 years and you're in good faith and you're doing nicely, you could say that person is a senior devotee. If you have questions, go to him. And if he doesn't know the answer, you could ask him, how did you get the title senior devotee if you don't know the answer to a basic question?
Yes, Prabhu.
In other words,
But
everyone is equal in this ISKCON, but we have a structure, temple presidents, pujaris, prasadam cooks, town leaders. We have all of these things.
yes, Prabhu. But someone has argued that if does it mean that an acharya cannot make another a pure devotee like that, Prabhu?
What did you say? Or Ramachandra, can you give me the good translation? Ramachandra?
Actually, my question is that Prabhupada is a pure devotee. So
Yes.
can't he make one more pure devotee? Can't he make any disciple as a pure devotee? He didn't have that much power. Like that they used to argue.
No. To answer your question, no, a pure devotee cannot make a pure devotee. He can inspire a person to become a pure devotee, but he cannot make, because each jiva is separate. If a person's going to become a pure devotee, they have to come through the Kanistha process, to the Madhyam process, to the Uttama process, or they have to descend from Krishna Loka as a pure devotee. But it's not that Prabhupada can just, it's not like the Catholic Church where you can put your, or like the Knights of the Round Table, where you take your sword and put it on somebody's shoulder and say, now you're Sir Gawain or you're Sir Lancelot. You can't do that. The king doesn't have that. Maybe a king can make a knight, but the guru cannot make a pure devotee. Pure devotee means you're in your rasa with Krishna. So what does that mean to be in your rasa with Krishna? Krishna determines what you do, not some other Uttama Adhikari. Prabhupada is in his rasa with Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
And if there's another pure devotee, that pure devotee will be in the rasa with Krishna also. Obviously, Prabhupada does not have control over any other jiva's relationship with Krishna. That is between the jiva and Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Does that make, isn't that common sense? Basic sense?
Yes, Prabhu. And one more is that I think in ISKCON that in deity worship the prasadam offering has been changed. No, Prabhu? I think so. The way of offering.
The deity
The
worship
process
has
of bog
changed.
offering.
What have they changed?
The process of bog offering, like before spiritual master, they are directly offering to Lord Krishna. They are not actually going through the spiritual master, or else they are going through their some gurus after Prabhupada they came up through them. So
So
does it mean that? Yes, Prabhu.
what they offered to the ISKCON guru, then to Prabhupada, then to Gaur Nitai, then to Krishna?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. In place of Prabhupada, at first they offer to Guru, and then Prabhupada, like that, they go to Krishna. And sometimes they directly go to Krishna, Prabhu.
Well, you can't do
So,
that because
uh,
Prabhupada established the system. You realize that even though on the altar is Radha and Krishna, Krishna has flute, he looks like cowherd boy, Radharani is with him. We are not worshiping Krishna as Krishna, but the style by which we worship, the way our arti ceremony is designed, it is the way we worship Lakshmi Narayan, Vaikuntha worship, not Krishna local worship.
yes, Prabhu.
Because of that, the offering must first be given to Prabhupada, secondarily must be given to Gaur Nitai, and then Gaur Nitai transforms it into an offering for Krishna, even though we worship Krishna as Lakshmi Narayan, because we are not qualified under any circumstance to worship Krishna as Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely,
So,
bro.
otherwise, our worship, our arti ceremony would be totally different.
Okay.
It wouldn't be that formal.
Okay, yes, bro. Then will
Krishna-
it become
Krishna's-
prasadam, bro?
Krishna's pastimes are spontaneous and informal pastimes.
Yes, bro.
But if we did that, we would become sahajas. We would lose our Shakti. We would become offenders. Just like some people like Gopi Baba, they want to worship Radha Krishna and the gopis. Well, that's an offense. You have to come through all 10 cantos before you can approach understanding Krishna's relationship with the gopis. That's why he published Krishna book, so that you could get a bland version of all of the pastimes, including 10th canto. He wanted to create a book where people would not commit an offense by reading about Radha Krishna. But because everyone in this material world is sex crazed, they all want to quickly go to Radha Krishna and the gopis, which means their spiritual life would be destroyed.
Okay.
Literally.
Then is that mean Indra Prabhu also? I heard that Indra Prabhu also dressed like Gopi. Actually, is it true, Prabhu, that he also becomes Sahaji or like that?
Rupa Manjari, can you try to give me an understanding?
He said that he heard that Ayendra Prabhu, did you say dressed as a gopi?
Then yes, Mataji.
Okay. He's saying that Ayendra Prabhu dressed as a gopi and that he was a Sahajya.
Well, yeah, but I had a great job because I read his lectures that roasted the ISKCON GBC and everything like that. But when I began looking at the videos of Yendra, it occurred to me that he was a being, not necessarily a very bright one, inhabited by a Brahmin ghost from Vrindavan, a Vrindavasi ghost. And as a result, he was ghosting through the body of Ayendra. Therefore, whatever that ghost was doing was what the ghost was doing. If you want to see how terrible Ayendra's actual philosophy was, he published a book. And that's why they killed him. They were terrified that his book would debunk the whole guru system. But after they killed him, the book was posthumously published. very lovingly, very elegantly, with a case and gold stamping all over it and stuff like that. When I read through it, it was ridiculous. It had nothing to do with Prabhupada or our Sampradaya. It was completely way off. So they wasted their time killing him.
Bro.
So I don't try not to get caught up in the body's physical, material, eat, sleep, mate, defend bodies of devotees. If you want to know a devotee, understand how does he represent what Prabhupada has taught us. Not how many times a day does he go to the bathroom and what does he eat, or how many hours does he sleep. That's what people are into at every level in ISKCON, from guru down to the new devotees, down to the rickshaw-wallas. They're all concerned with their bodies. And that's fine. The Kanisa Adhikari is limited to understanding devotional service as his body. Just stop to think of it. If you go into any ISKCON temple, have you ever met a person that did not seem to be relating to you through their body?
No, bro.
I mean, what would you say? You don't have to agree with me. You can disagree with me. But when you see the devotees, you say, oh, this person is a pure devotee in the body of a brahmachari or sannyasi. Or do you see this is a person who believes that he is his body and he's a sannyasi body and he talks and he relates to you like you're your body, but he may have a lot of knowledge or he may know Sanskrit, he knows a lot of stuff. But what separates him from being a human body? I mean, have you met anyone, any devotee anywhere? I'm assuming that you never met Prabhupada personally, but if you see Prabhupada in videos, have you met anyone anywhere that appeared to not consider themselves through the lens of their physical body, even if they were wearing saffron, wearing tilak?
Yeah, but I don't know, bro. Never met like that because I cannot judge like that. I don't know. Yes, bro.
Okay. Well, every time you meet a devotee or a guru, ISKCON guru, ask yourself, is this person a soul speaking through the body, or is he a purified body learning how to be an advanced devotee? You see, everybody in ISKCON is making progress. I started out by saying how the bottom of the ISKCON stack, but as you go up further and further, you can become 3/4 of the way up. You may become a pujari. You go 9/10 of the way up. You can become the top pujari. You can give wonderful lectures, etc. But you're still married. You still have children.
Okay.
Your birth that you've taken, even though you've brought it up to a very purified state as the top of the Kanisa Adhikari platform, you brought it up to that platform, but that doesn't make you beyond that. The only way to get beyond that is to see that you are not your body and not act as though you are your body. Do not consider that you are the soul inside of a body, not that you are the body with a soul inside.
Okay.
This is hard for people to do. I go up to devotees that have been in the movement for 40 years in Los Angeles. I say, Prabhu, do you have a soul? And he looks at me and says, sure, I have a soul. I said, well, I don't have a soul. Then he looks at me because he knows that I've tricked him. And he looks bitterly at me because I tricked him into claiming that he has a soul. Because when I say I don't have a soul, I will say I don't have a soul. I am the soul. I have
Yes.
a body.
Mm. Mm.
Aham Brahmasmi doesn't mean I have a soul. Aham Brahmasmi means I am Brahman. I am the soul.
Yeah.
And I have a body, as long as I have one. But
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada himself had a body. It was a purified body, Krishna-ized body. When Hansaduta's wife, Haimavati, was talking to Prabhupada, she was German, bold-spoken German woman. She said, Prabhupada, you're working on a typewriter. You're working on a table. You're sitting on a rug. Aren't these material things? How is it you can write spiritual literatures on a material typewriter? And Prabhupada answered, because this is typewriters being used in pure devotional service, it becomes Krishna-ized. In other words, it basically becomes what we would call prasadam. If we get that typewriter that Prabhupada typed on, we can worship it. Because it was spiritualized, Krishna-ized or spiritualized by Prabhupada's touch.
Yes.
So that's
Bro,
what happens to,
Yes, bro.
That's-
Does that
that's what,
Yes, bro.
but for us to become pure devotees, meaning qualified to become ISKCON gurus, we would have to complete the process until we are no longer residents of the material world, where we no longer have any identification with our body, but that we are in our rasa with Krishna. And I doubt that any of the ISKCON gurus would claim that they're in their rasa with Krishna.
Mm.
And if they do, they should describe it, because I have a feeling it would not match the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah. Yes, bro. That mean
You see, we're going for reality.
yeah.
Reality means not imagination and nothing subject to the material body.
Yeah.
The material body appears real. If I cut my hand, I say, ouch. But the material body, to the very, very minimal sense in which you could call it real, is temporary reality.
Yeah, bro.
And temporary, in the spiritual sense, cannot be real. Reality is eternal. You are eternal. I am eternal. So in this Isagosti conference on the Zoom call, please understand, I'm talking to you as the soul. Please also talk to me that you are the soul talking to a soul, okay?
Yeah, bro.
Leave the body, leave the culture, leave age difference, leave genetic difference, leave religious background difference, political difference out of the conversation. Jiva to jiva, soul to soul. All you have to do is speak honestly, and you'll be speaking as the soul. But the minute you start hedging your bets by including your gender, including your race, including your income level, then it becomes material and it's no longer interesting. And certainly no longer suitable for Isagosti.
We have 1 minute before 10 o'clock.
Jai, and wasn't there someone else on this call, or did they drop out?
Yeah, Tarak.
Ramachandra?
Tarak Prabhu.
Who?
Tara.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisance, Prabhu.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories
I am
to
very
Srila Prabhupada.
thankful to you and Ronald Prabhu for having association in the online, Prabhu.
Okay.
Prabhu, I am having a little doubt. Can you please clarify, Prabhu?
I'm sorry.
Prabhu,
said
I am
he's-
having a small doubt. Could you please clarify?
Rupa Manjari, can you clarify for me?
He said he has a small doubt. Can you please clarify for him?
Oh, small doubt. I was hoping you had a big doubt, but any of you have a small doubt, I'll try to clarify it. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu. I would like to ask you about the self-sufficient farm communities. So I have read Prabhupada quotes and letters and few morning walks. In that, Prabhupada want to establish a self-sufficient farm community so that devotee need not to go miles away to get money to maintain their family. Just by we can satisfy with by protecting cows, we will getting the milk and milk products. And if we grow our own food like grains, vegetable, fruits, so we need not to go outside, and we can. It will be very peaceful environment for us to practice Krishna consciousness. So can
Yes.
you please enlighten on me this topic, Prabhu?
So where's the doubt part?
A doubt is that, and when we discuss with a few devotees, a devotee used to say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say that our goal is not Varnashram Dharma, our Dharma, our goal is love of Godhead. So, like
Oh,
that,
I see.
sometimes few devotees used to say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say that Varnashram Dharma is not ultimate goal of life. Ultimate goal of life is love of Godhead.
Yes, but what do
Like,
you do with people? What do you do with people to give them food, shelter, kirtan, and occupation, and to protect the cows while you're becoming a pure devotee? But yeah, Rupa Manjari, do you want to answer that question? It so happens that Rupa Manjari is very interested in Daivavan ashram. And
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada very much wanted all of us to engage in Varnashram Dharma, because that way we wouldn't have to rely on corporations for buying food. Plus, there's compromised quality as well, because you don't know who you're buying from. But if we grow our own food and have our own cows and have our own milk source, then we are in charge of our own lives. We're not dependent on anybody. And if you're not dependent, then you can live according to the Vaishnav standard, which is not what the world at large follows. The world at large is materialistic, whereas the Vaishnav standard is spiritual.
yes, so whoever said Prabhupada did not want farm communities is unaware of the large, there's books that have been written, several people have written books on Daiva Varnashram based on what Prabhupada asked for with Daiva Varnashram. And he very specifically did. He said at one point to Satsvarupa and Rameshwar, let's go to Gitanagri and we will establish Varnashram there. But they didn't want to do that because they were clinging to their cars, their televisions, their private houses, stuff like that. What they wanted is to keep the cows as slaves, but not slaughter them. But the Daiva Varnashram idea is to consider the cow one of your 7 mothers. So you do not enslave your mother. If you had to have a mother, if she breastfed you, which I hope she did, I mean, what are you going to do? Then take your mother and then pump her milk and sell it to the public? Your own human mother, are you going to pump her milk and sell it to the public? I don't think so. So that's what the devotee cow programs have been so far, is sell your mother's milk, pump the milk and sell it to people. But that's not our goal. The goal of the Varnashram Dharma is, it is headed by Lord Jagannath. He is the head, the Brahmins are the head, the Kshatriyas are his arms, the Vaishyas are his plump belly, and the strength is in his legs, which are the Shudras. So the Shudras most people want to work. In other words, you generally have human society is, does this look like anything? Triangular shape. Yeah, triangle. Most of the people are at the bottom, and those are the people that like to work. You know them. They're farmers, auto mechanics, whatever. But in the Daivavan ashram, you divided, everyone is initiated devotee in Daivavan ashram. So it's not as though there's any spiritual lack. You don't become Shudra because you're not a devotee. You can become a Shudra because you like to work with your hands. And if you are capable of studying the fine art of agriculture and cattle breeding, or of the Desi cows, then you can be a Vaishya. But the Vaishya will require so many Shudra help to plow, to harvest. You're not going to have the Vaishyas all out there with a sickle cutting down the wheat or the rice. It'll be done largely by Shudras under the supervision of Vaishyas, and the Shudras, by so doing, are learning how to become Vaishyas. And also the Brahmins will need Shudras there too, to help them gather up the foodstuffs. When the Vaishyas are producing grains and ghee and everything, they bring it to the temple. Everything will be owned by Lord Jagannath. You will own the land. You will own the house that you live in. And then you'll get to stay there for free. Just like in Krishna Loka, nobody is paying rent. So you don't have to pay rent in Varnashram society. And to make it easier to understand, I like to say we should start with 10,000 good acres of land with water, and say 2,000 devotees, or start with a few dozen devotees and grow up to 2,000. And if you get beyond 2,000 and you're running out of land, then acquire more land or start another community of 2,000. That can be easily done. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the United States and India, well, India under Modi is doing remarkably well, but the world and as a whole is going towards collapse. So when that collapse takes place, there'll be tons of unemployed people. So we could say, chant Hare Krishna, and we'll give you a place to live with you and your wife and children, but they must become devotees. No karmi clothes, just devotee clothes. No electricity, just lamps and oil lamps. And you go to bed early, you get up early, you go up to the Jagannath temple, chant your heart out at the Jagannath temple, then you go back and you do your work. When it's lunchtime, you go up to the Jagannath temple. No need for your wife to be sitting there, 2,000 people, say 25% of them are women, and the others are children and men, 3/4 of children and men. Why should 25% of the women be slaving away over a cooking pot when they can be doing weaving cloth, and not to sell, but to give to the Brahmins, to distribute to everyone according to their need? Everyone will work according to his ability. Everyone will receive according to his need. So that's the Daivavan ashram. And it differs from Varnashram because Varnashram was for a material objective of going to higher planets. Daivavan ashram has only one objective, and that is to become a pure devotee of Krishna. And in this case, personified by Lord Jagannath. Why Lord Jagannath? Because Jagannath Puri used to run on that basis. Orissa used to. Everything was owned by Lord Jagannath, and the people brought everything to the temple, and they came to the temple for all their meals. They could eat sumptuously, cooked in ghee and spices, delicious cooked by pandas. Why not? Why live in poverty when you can live literally on the same level as God, namely Lord Jagannath? If you take prasadam from Lord Jagannath temple, you're eating Lord Jagannath's meal after he has tasted it. So why not do that instead of everybody cook his own little pot in his own little griha?
Okay, we need to wrap it up.
Okay, but let's just make sure. Is there any unresolved question? We can wrap it up in 2 or 3 minutes. First of all, were you satisfied with that answer?
Yes, Prabhu, it's very clear, Prabhu.
Is it satisfactory?
Yes, Prabhu, it's very satisfactory. And one more doubt is that few devotees argue that Varnashram Dharma is now not is important, so we can do after like that. Few devotees used to tell like that, Prabhu.
Okay, Rupa, what did he say?
He said a few devotees argue that Varnashram Dharma is not necessary or applicable.
Well, whoever says that is not necessary, because
I
that
mean,
same
a few
person,
devotees, Prabhu,
if
they
we,
used to
if, we
accept
ha-
that.
if we create that community and we're cooking wonderful prasadam and we're making beautiful ghee, is that devotee says not necessary, want to go to the store and buy vegetable margarine or coconut oil to cook instead? Why doesn't he come and take prasadam at this unnecessary community?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So they say, I don't know who is saying not necessary. Whoever is anti-Prabhupada, anti-ISKCON, because Prabhupada wanted it. And in my world, I took initiation from Prabhupada, as have or can you as well. You also, there's only Prabhupada for Guru. Who else is on that level? I mean, let's not be joking with our destiny by saying any Tom, Dick, or Harry can become Guru. No, only in Uttama Adhikari. So let us join together and create that, and then the guy that says it's not necessary will come to you and say, Prabhu, I said it was not necessary. By now I see what you have all created. I have to say only one thing. I was mistaken. And there's one more thing I'd like to ask. She says, when is prasadam served? Okay. So is that enough for now? Are you complete for now? Or do you, I don't want to leave you in the lurch.
Excellent discussion. Thank you so much, Prabhus.
Jai.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
thank you,
what was
Prabhu.
the name of the nice devotee we were just talking to? I could not quite catch.
Tara.
Prabhu, my name is Tarak Ram. So I am from India, Prabhu.
What part of India?
South India, Prabhu, near to Hyderabad.
You're Hyderabad. Oh, that
Hare
means
Near
Krishna.
to Hyderabad, not Hyderabad, Prabhu, exactly. Near to Hyderabad.
so you're near the tech capital of the world.
Yes, Prabhu.
Rama Rama.
Yeah, I've only been to Bangalore. I have only been to Udupi
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, Prabhu.
in South India. I've been all over other parts of India. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare
All right,
Yeah,
Krishna.
Hare
good night, everybody.
Think up more questions and join me. And go to that person who says not necessary and say he should go online and read the book called Prabhupada Speaking of Varnashram. Big, thick book Prabhupada wrote.
Yes,
Speaking
Prabhu.
of
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
And he didn't mean it for some other yuga. He meant it for now. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Good night.
Good night,
Krishna.
Rupa Dasi. Good night, Rupa Dasi.
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Bol.